hello, good afternoon, students, lecturers, and researcher. Terima kasih kepada Ibu Moderator. I will now start my presentation. My name is FARADILLAH, and I am a Telkom University lecturer from the Fashion and Textile program. Today, I will present one of my research topics in zero-waste fashion design, specifically about how we can use engineered print to create less waste garments. Before we go into that topic, let me share you one fact. Did you know that there are two kinds of waste based on our consumption? First is pre-consumption waste. The second is post-consumption waste. Pre-consumption waste is the waste created during the production process, while post-consumption waste is what happens after we finish consuming it. We as living humans contribute to both of them. What if I tell you that by wearing proper clothes we are wearing right now, we have contributed to pre-consumption waste to the earth by just not being naked? Before I start wasting more time, let us take a look of what is zero-waste fashion design. In the hype of creating a sustainable product, most of the industry focuses on how to recycle the post-consumption waste. However, things are a bit different in the fashion industry right now. One of the ideas is how to reduce pre-consumption waste in production. Besides creating an eco-friendly raw material or chemical used in the production of a garment, why not create a design process that will help reduce fabric waste from the production process? Moreover, that is how the term zero-waste fashion design is born. Zero-waste fashion design focuses on reducing waste generated during the production process of a garment. Designers and researchers were focusing on the cutting and sewing process because of the vast amount of leftover fabric thrown into landfills today. They took forever to decompose because most of them are human-made fibers or synthetic. Ideally, the waste from the garment should be zero, as the term refers. However, less than 15% of fabric left over from every garment made is already contributing to less waste in the landfills. This approach to a better production process is not as new as we think because our ancestors had done it before in the past. The limitation of raw materials and the prolonged fabric production process made people in the past more respectful of materials to make clothes, so that in every process of making clothes, the material was used entirely without residue. Next. We are moving on to why we use engineered print in the process. Is not zero waste itself enough? In basic terms, engineered printing is one of the engineering techniques that develop along with the development of computer technology and the fashion production process. It allows the designer to apply motifs to a garment pattern and print it directly onto a plain cloth so that when the motifs are put together in a seam form, it connects according to the shape of the clothing. It allows the designer to adjust the motif according to the garment pattern and creatively manipulate the position of the motif on the garment. One example of using this technique is the work of Alexander McQueen in 2012, where the motif was applied to the pattern to produce a seamless effect. Besides a seamless effect, the position of the motif in a certain way that the garment pattern is making the whole motif like a puzzle. So that comes to a question of how we can combine both techniques. Next. A geometric pattern is one of the basic techniques used in the development of clothes with fabric waste of less than 15%. In this research, the use of geometric shapes proved to be versatile in pattern drafting with many possibilities of variations, depends on the characteristic of the fabric, sewing, or cutting process. Pattern drafting process is done by constructing a rectangular shape with the obtained measurements and adapting the necessary details on a foundation pattern such as darts, color length, and depth. In this process, the designer should have a clear view of how the shape will hold. The main idea comes from the basic tubular shape of ancient Greek costumes, which is well known for its fabric optimization. The drafting of patterns did not use a specific formula for basic bodice and sleeve as a foundation pattern. Instead, the designer used the necessary measurements of the model to determine the length and width of the garment. This prototyping process, using a half scale instead of a full scale mannequin, considering the waste generated by fabric by using a full scale mannequin. Furthermore, the prototype is more straightforward to adjust in a half-scale mannequin rather than a full version. Next. After finalizing the garment pattern, then the designer could look on creative ways to design the motif itself based on inspiration for the design. Lau Katipa, one of the traditional motifs from Sumba, is one of the main inspiration. In zero-waste fashion design with engineered print techniques, the designer needs to have a fixed garment pattern, even if it is in a half-scale measurement. The next process is creating the digital flat garment pattern in a full-scale measurement using Adobe Illustrator. It is manipulated further by deleting unnecessary seams such as side seam and center seam. The elimination of seam will provide a better canvas for the printed motif and ease the assembly process after it is printed and cut. When the pattern is set, the last stage is to position the motif on the garment patterns and adjusting the position accordingly. Printing the final garment patterns with the applied motif is done in the actual fabric dimension due to efficiency in the cut and sew process. After the printing is done, the fabric is cut. It is cut out accordingly and sewn to match the motifs. Next. Based on the explanation of the process, this research concludes that in designing a zero-waste garment, having less waste is not only the primary concern. The conventional process of drafting garment patterns can lead to the accumulation of pre-consumption waste other than leftover fabrics. To address this issue, the use of digital technology is one of the solutions proposed for designers to create a zero-waste ready-to-wear garment. In this research, such ideas and goals are enabled by the simple use of everyday design software such as CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator to help in the production process. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you all enjoy it.